Another wild night of footy. Broncos defeating the Eels. Couple of lucky ones in that first half in terms of those bounces, but worked out great for them. And it shows that Eels are going to really struggle to probably make the 8. There's a lot of good teams at the moment, and the Eels just aren't up to scratch. They have such a good roster, but just can't put it together at the moment. And Broncos clearly on top of the ladder doing their thing. Really, it's one of those games where you didn't want to own too many players at all. If you've got through the first couple of games not owning too many, then you've done great. A mixture of Carrigan, Haas, Reynolds, these types of guys from this game. And then really from that first one, it was probably only Cleary that you wanted. Anything other than that wasn't too exciting. So Carrigan, let's speak about him. And a 64. They haven't updated it again, guys, so I'm just going off the NRL app. Both games haven't done so far. Annoying, but we're just going to have to move on with it. So Carrigan, 64 in this one, and just did everything, really. The start of this game was great for him. In terms of his point scoring output, he was above a point a minute the entirety of the game. 3 early offloads, tackled hard, and plenty of metres gained. Even with them scoring a bunch of tries in that first half, he was really able to be a part of that and get lots of offloads away. And I know the NRL Fantasy Amateurs did a nice piece on Carrigan this week as him potentially being a buy, with him having lost a lot of cash, being under that 50 average now, and we know what he can produce. But you probably didn't expect this with just how he was playing the last few weeks, and he'd still have the odd offload in his game. He had that game where he had very low tackles, and that's why he scored really low. But this is one of those games where he just had everything, which was great there, and only the one missed tackle, which really helped him out. So if you did hold on to Carrigan, it wasn't a lot, to be honest with you. If you did sell him, you're part of a good majority of people, especially in that top 5K. So he was down to about 30% owned in that top 5K, and that would have been a lot lower after last week's 42. So that will update after round 8 here. So that's that. Shawnee Lane, so a much better game for him. He did end up with a 60 there. So 30 tackles, 5 tackle breaks, couple offloads, 137 metres. Somewhere back to his best in terms of point scoring. And he will still go down a little bit, but his money-making losses potentially have stalled now. So Laney, definitely a solid one over the next bunch of weeks. For him to still score well in this type of game is a credit to him and his output there. If you're looking at Reynolds, he did end up with 62 and he stayed that way. So a great game for him. Couple of great kicks, a try back on the inside there. Incredible flick pass from Ezra Mam there. 5 goals. Did miss a couple, which was strange. Just fading across to the left. But overall for him, a great game. 690 kick meters was delightful as well. 17 tackles, 2 misses. Can't complain with Reynolds. And if you did miss out on SJ a bunch of weeks ago, when Reynolds got that 30 odd and SJ went nuts, he's starting to make up for it now, averaging 54.4 for the year there. Payne Haas, 57 for him. It went down to, so a solid game overall. That he had a 1 or 2 barnstorming runs there where he broke so many tackles and got 1 offload there. No negatives again. He's just an absolute superstar there. Minutes were sort of around his normal for the moment, but 19 tackles. A lot of the time he was on, they were attacking, and other times they were, he was defending right in the middle there, and they were going down the edges with guys like Sean Lane and Matterson on his side when he mixed between middle and edge there as well. So Payne Haas, if you did pick him up this week, then it's a little bit lower than you expected, but he's just been stock standard, rock solid, doing a great job for your side there. Herbie Farnworth, so he picked up a try in this one, averaging 43.6 now, and he's definitely a solid guy to look at, guys, if you need someone in that mid-500s, because most of the good centres at the moment are way into the 600s. You see, we'll talk about Penicini down below, but Penicini, Bird, Manu, these types of guys that are going to be gunned in that position, they're all way over 600 now. So Farnworth, a sneaky option. He won't make too much money off this performance, given he hasn't been going too crash hot over the last bunch of weeks, but for him now, this could be a little time where he has a little bit of a run, although they do have some tougher games. So this is one of them, tougher, you could say. But did everything in this one. Only the 1 negative. Won't happen every week, but definitely someone to look at. Matterson there, 51 he ended up with, and just a good scoring game overall. 75 minutes was delightful. So middle, bit of edge as well. Did a bit of everything. Some negatives in this one, no tackle breaks, just the 1 offload. So for him, it was kind of a stock standard game. You don't make money off him with a 51, but if you're comparing it to guys like Cam Murray, who got 47 and he's priced about 50k more, then you take that from Matto. But if you did trade him in this week, it's like a little bit painful. But there are a lot of other guys that people trade in this week, like a Penicini, that didn't score as well. So Matterson, solid without being spectacular there at all. Okay, well, man, we got Penicini here. So he ended up with 35. He's just solid across the board, guys. He did get that try assist, line break assist there. The tackles that he makes is just great. For a centre, for him to make 24 tackles, yes, he missed 5 this week, and that was a lot of, Farnworth, Reece Walsh doing their thing down that left-hand side. And, you're not going to face that type of combo each and every week, especially. So you see that. His missed tackles aren't that high on a regular basis. So for him to have -10 there does stunt his scoring a little bit in this one. But overall, he's going to be a really solid centre. You go 35 just in the base there, and the 24 tackles and the 117 metres. Obviously, not factoring in the negatives for the missed tackles, but usually an offload and some tackle breaks for him would cover any of those missed tackles and usually exceed that. So any attacking stats in terms of tries and try assists on top of that is great, but he's obviously pretty expensive at 639, and you'd be hoping for more out of him for sure, averaging close to 50. Tapa'u just destroyed my boy Dylan Brown at one of those points there, so wasn't happy at that point, let's say that. But Brownie, 36 in this one, did have a lovely kick for a Sivo try, a good line break assist as well. 28 tackles, 3 misses. He did have an error and a penalty, so a little bit of frustrating on the negative side, especially when his run meters were down. So 68 for him in this one. He's been up over 100 meters for the majority of the last bunch of weeks. And again, a very, very low game for the Eels halves. So Brownie 36, Moses a 34. Both not great and not what you're wanting. So I was just trying to work out what would happen if I made the decision last week. So Hopgood to Moses was my choice. So Hopgood ended up with 50. I held him. Would have went to Moses 61. Fair enough. That would have meant I held Cartwright and played him for 28 last week instead of getting Brown's 47. So I was up some decent points there, just over 11. The other option was Penicini, so I would have picked up him last week, and then he scored 1 less than Brown this week, and Moses had a shocker and got 34. So. And if I held Hopgood again, which I didn't this week, I traded him to Manu. He got the 36 as well. So overall, I don't think I would have netted. I'm not really happy owning Brown, to be honest with you. I kind of wish I don't have him now and maybe just held on to that trade that 1 week and did something with it this week. But I think overall, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have been a bit of a wash points-wise, and I would have probably made that trade anyway. So yeah, just think of that, guys. When you're bringing in guys, sometimes you just completely stuff it up. Other ones, you're like, oh, he hasn't scored great, 47 and 36, but this game was really poor. They have some easier games coming up, and the people I would have traded him to or had options to trade him to didn't work out that great either. So think of that when you're making your own trades as well. Brownie, what do you do with him? I think, as I said, they've got the easier couple of rounds coming up. And he obviously plays round 13 as well, so you could definitely hold all the way. I understand why you look to move him on at 650, but I know not many people have him, so it's probably just a me problem, to be honest. Hopgood there, 36 in his time out there, 46 minutes, and a sin bin. So watching that, I was very glad that that I didn't end up holding him. Thankfully, it made it very easy that he was on the bench, and you knew he'd get about 50, 55 minutes and sort of score all right. He came on as a bit of a terror through the middle with all these tackles, but for him there, 36, you need to move him on, I think, and potentially bring him back when guys like Junior Palo are out. The other thing here is that Regan Campbell-Gillard is likely out longer term, which means that he probably gets back to that big minute role, and now he's a hold. But you didn't really want to cop his 36 this week just to get some better scoring from here on. I think a lot of people will probably pick him up, in the next 2 to 4 weeks there, potentially round 13, maybe round 15 after their round 14 bye. Could be the play for Hopgood, especially if Campbell-Gillard is out longer term, and Junior Barlow is going to be in the Origin setup as well. So that's that. All right, Walshy, little bone to pick. I don't own him, right? So I'm obviously happy with his low score, but he was up to 35, and then they've dropped him back to 28, and they removed his offload that he got at the end of the game. Look, I thought it was forward live, but they gave it to him, and what's stupid about it is they've removed it in updates. I don't know how you can watch that play and remove that. So very frustrating if you are a Walsh owner. I own him in Supercoach, so he didn't score very well there either, finally, for that one. But Walsh with that electric line break, he's so fast, man. Got a couple of tackle breaks in that line break there. Unfortunately, it doesn't equate to a hell of a lot of points. He needs the offloads, the multiple offloads like he did a few weeks ago, and the tries to boot. So finally a lower score for Walsh. A lot of the tries were around Reynolds, Herbie Farnworth and Tony Staggs batting that one back. So that was where a lot of the tries came from. And Walsh, he was sick just before halftime. A few guys mentioned it to me in the private group that he slid over to the sideline there and had a vomit just before halftime. So obviously super hot in Darwin as well. So that's something to think about with the point scoring in this game. A bunch of missed tackles. The play wasn't as slick. There's a few good plays from Reynolds and the Broncos there, but there's also a couple of lucky bounces on kicks to end up with tries. So humidity was, I think, over 70%, which is crazy. So yeah, Walshy, the low score there, he'll bounce back, I think for sure, especially if he was a bit sick and wasn't healing the heat as well. Yeah, Moses, 34 for him. Wasn't his best game. Obviously, a couple of negatives in there, but nothing crazy really. Like he's one of those guys that does get about that 10 to 12 on a negative basis, but 15 in this one. Kick meters were down, obviously at 300 there. Few drop balls, ball not in play as much. Tony had 400 kick meters between him and Brownie there when, there's a game where Moses kicked for 1,000 before. So these games happen, unfortunately, for Moses. Then next week he goes out and gets 75. So a little bit frustrating. Obviously, their next bunch of games are a lot easier. So this is when Moses tends to come out and dominate. So if you did miss out on him this week, then I definitely think he could be an option from next week, with him getting that low one. Stunting his price growth a bit this week, which is good. If you are a non-owner, if you're an owner, just hold steady. He'll be one of those guns that you want throughout the origin period for sure. Okay, the next bunch of guys, not really too relevant. Palo there, he needs to get out of your side. A few people had him as a trade out this week that I saw, and he definitely needs to go. And Widdermill Greg there with 27, he was okay. Again, if you owned him, he hasn't really made any money yet, unfortunately. Cartwright got the 80 minutes, just wasn't his type of game. Did move out to the centres for the majority of this one, so that was annoying. 2 missed tackles, 2 errors. And he was just, even in the second row, he was a lower scorer in that first half anyway, with all of the Broncos tries. So if you've got a Cartwright, give him a clap, say thank you. Appreciate you for spending your time in my side, making us 300k, and it's time to move on. It's been great. Great price to move him on. Like the amount of guys that you could straight swap him to, to think you could straight swap your bargain basement price Cartwright straight to James Tedesco is just absolutely wild. So very exciting for people that want to do that, or use him as a trade piece to any of those fallen mids, or to go down to a cash cow for sure. I know a lot of people did trade him out anyway, but if those that held him with him getting the 80-minute roll, I think it's just time anyway. He wasn't going to make too much more money, and yeah, that's that. Yeah, you could hold him all the way through the buy period, but if games are like this, are available, he's got 32s and 26 in his bracket there. I wouldn't be looking to hold. Sean Russell, 24 for him. So a try and a line break there. Not ideal, especially with 6 missed tackles. He did have the error as well. Not good. So if you picked him up, he's not based on price either. So 25.7 average, not good at all. Let's talk about the Hodgson hand situation, because Hodgson just, unfortunately, I think he's done. It's sad to say, but defensively, something he was really good at. Attacking wise, he would run out of dummy half. At the moment, he's just shoveling the ball out from dummy half there and missing tackles. That's unfortunately his role at the moment. Hands, on the other hand, no pun intended, good minutes, but still scores bad. He's got 3 errors in his game in this one, 2 missed tackles, did have a line break assist, ran the ball a little bit more, which was good, but really, in the 80-minute role, if he does happen to get that, it's still only a 31 that he got last week, and this 20 and 50 minutes would extrapolate out to that anyway. So Hansy, I don't even know if he's going to be an option long term, but he does cover hooker and half, and he's 294k. So really, there's going to be worse options out there, and hopefully a cash cow comes up at some point for our squads. Regan, as we said, unfortunately, big injury, potentially hip issue, and also major groin strain as well. So potential tear. So that's that from NRL Physio. Could be some big issues. Could be 3 months out if it's any of the above. Not good at all. And yeah, Dury 15. So please get him out of your side if you have him. Simonson will definitely be out next week as well, guys. Had the Cat 1 symptoms of the HIA. So that was pretty bad. It looked like the front on view didn't look good. He was completely out instantly. So Simonson will be out. Just means Dunster will return, really. That's all it'll be. So I wish you all the luck with the Saturday games, guys. As we had 2 Saturday games, 2 Sunday, 2 on Tuesday as well. So finally added the one per day, and we do start from 5:30, which is a bit late. Again, we do like the early game, but that's that. And I wish you all the best of luck for the rest of the weekend.